I always thought I was just joking. Just a harmless comment. You're my second choice, I told him, laughing like it was no big deal. But here I am, sitting in my car, holding the divorce papers, wondering how the hell it all ended up like this. My name's Amanda, I'm 31 years old, and this is my story about how a joke ruined my marriage. It started with the usual family, kids, the routine. Two kids, Mia, our 7-year old, and little Ethan, 4. You know how it is. Your whole world revolves around them. The school runs, the birthday parties, keeping the house together. I didn't work, so I was a stay at home mom, which I thought was enough, but I guess that was where it all started to fall apart. I didn't realize it back then, but I was starting to take things for granted. Eric, my husband, was a hard worker. Look, he'd come home tired from long hours, and I'd unload my day, talk about the kids, or complain about the house, and I just started resenting him. He was always the provider, always there, always doing what he was supposed to do. But what about me? What about what I needed? I was the one with the kids all day, taking care of everything. I wasn't getting attention, and that frustration started building up inside me. It was a Friday night, a rare evening without the kids. Eric was trying to make a nice dinner for us, and I had a glass of wine. We were sitting at the table just talking, and I made the comment. I don't even remember what led up to it. Maybe it was how he'd spent so much time working overtime that week, or how I was exhausted with the kids. I just blurted it out like a joke. You know, I could have married someone else. You're my second choice. I laughed, he didn't. I saw it in his eyes, but I thought I could brush it off. It was just a stupid thing to say, right? But it wasn't stupid, it was cutting. I could see the hurt behind his eyes, but I didn't stop to think about it. I just thought he was being sensitive, which, looking back, I see that it wasn't the case at all. From that moment, things started to shift between us. Little things, small arguments, even though we had never really fought like that before. I didn't think much of it. I had my own world, being a mom, doing everything for the kids, and making sure the house ran smoothly. Eric, on the other hand, seemed quieter, less present. Then came the late nights. I'd ask him what he'd been up to, and he'd give some half-assed response. Sometimes he'd go out for drinks with his friends after work, or at least that's what he said. I didn't question it. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. I didn't want to seem controlling, and I certainly didn't want to seem like a nag. But I felt it. The distance was growing, and I was growing angrier. I was alone all day with the kids, and he was out there working and having his own life. It started eating at me. One night, I noticed he was texting more, but I didn't make a big deal of it. He was just being distant, that's all. But I guess I wanted him to come back to me, to be the man I had married, the one who was attentive and interested. So I kept up with the jokes, to fill the silence, to try and get some kind of reaction, like I didn't care. But deep down, I cared more than I ever let on. It all blew up one night when I came home early from dropping Mia off at her friend's house. I walked into our bedroom and found him on the bed, his phone in hand, texting someone. At first, I thought it was just his buddy, but then I saw the name, Katie. My heart dropped. Katie. I didn't know a Katie. I stared at him for a few seconds, and when he noticed me, his face went pale. I wasn't sure what to say, so I just blurted out, "Who the hell is Katie?" He froze, didn't say a word at first. His eyes shifted around, looking everywhere but at me. "Just a coworker," he said finally. But something about the way he said it didn't sit right with me. I didn't let it go. "Really? A coworker? Because it sure doesn't look like it." I could see the guilt on his face, and I could tell something was off. But at the time, I wasn't thinking about his feelings. I wasn't even thinking about our kids. I just wanted to know what was going on. Why was he texting her? We argued for hours, and by the end of it, I was convinced that he was lying to me. I was so mad that I couldn't even see straight. I don't even remember what else we said to each other, but I remember the way it felt. That pit in my stomach. The anger. The jealousy. I pushed him away more, and he did the same. The gap just kept widening between us, and I couldn't see it until it was too late. Looking back now, I see how badly I pushed him. I know I wasn't the perfect wife, and I definitely wasn't the perfect mother, but I was angry, I was hurt, and I was too proud to admit it. Maybe if I had stopped making those jokes, maybe if I had just talked to him, told him how I was feeling instead of just acting out and getting more bitter. Maybe if I had been a little more self aware. But now here I am, sitting with these divorce papers, holding on to the remnants of something I destroyed, and I can't help but wonder if I'll ever get it back, if we'll ever get back to where we were before I made that joke. But I don't think we will, not after everything that's happened. Do you think I could have done things differently, or was this always how it was going to end? After that night, everything changed. Eric started staying late more often, and the tension between us was unbearable. I remember the long silences at dinner, the way he'd keep his phone face down on the table, like he was hiding something. And I kept trying to fill the space with jokes, trying to pretend like I was fine, like nothing had happened. But deep down, I knew we were unraveling. A few weeks went by, and I tried to ignore the growing unease. I even told myself I was overreacting. Maybe I was. I mean, Katie could have just been a coworker, right? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something didn't feel right. One afternoon, I picked up Mia from school early. I was supposed to meet a friend for coffee, but I decided to surprise Eric at home. I wanted to confront him. I guess I wanted to catch him in the act. When I walked in, the first thing I noticed was the smell. It was weird. Not like a fresh home-cooked meal, but like perfume. I walked into our bedroom, and there on the bed was Eric. He wasn't alone. Katie was sitting beside him, laughing, her legs crossed on the bed as if they'd been there for hours. My heart dropped into my stomach, and I could feel my blood start to boil. I don't even remember exactly what happened after that. I think I just froze, staring at them. Eric's eyes went wide when he saw me standing in the doorway, but I wasn't sure who I was angrier at, him or her. Katie stood up quickly, like she was about to run, and that's when Eric jumped in. "Amanda, this isn't what you think." His voice was shaky, and his words fumbling out like he was trying to find the right thing to say. But I didn't care anymore. My chest felt tight, and all I could do was stare at him, feeling every ounce of betrayal hit me like a freight train. "Really?" I shot back. "What do you think I think this is, Eric? What the hell is going on here?" Katie looked uncomfortable, trying to avoid my eyes. She started mumbling something about needing to go, but I didn't care about her. My focus was entirely on Eric. "You've been sneaking around with her," I demanded, stepping forward, my voice getting louder. "Is this how you've been spending all your late nights, huh?" Eric stood up slowly, raising his hands in defense. "It's not like that. We just—" I cut him off before he could finish. "You're lying. You're just like every other man. I gave you everything, Eric. I took care of our family, our kids, and you. You can't even be faithful. You've been sneaking behind my back with this woman, and now you're trying to gaslight me into thinking it's nothing." I was pacing around the room now, too angry to stay still. He kept trying to speak, but every time he did, I just shouted over him. The more I talked, the angrier I got, and I couldn't stop myself. He had hurt me, and I needed him to know how much it stung. Katie had left by the time the argument was halfway over, and I didn't care. Eric was standing there, looking at me, but there was no remorse in his eyes, no regret. I wanted him to beg for forgiveness. I wanted him to tell me that it was a mistake, that it meant nothing. But he didn't. Instead, he just said, "I don't think this is working anymore, Amanda." Those words hit me like a slap to the face. "What? You don't think it's working? You're the one who's been screwing around behind my back, and now you want to throw away our entire family because of some affair?" But his face was set in stone. "I don't know what you want from me, Amanda," he said quietly. "I can't fix this. It's over." The words didn't sink in right away. I think it took a while for me to even understand what he was saying. We were done. And then all of a sudden, something clicked inside me. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt relieved. Relieved that I didn't have to pretend anymore. Relieved that the weight of everything wasn't just on my shoulders. But at the same time, I felt angry. Furious that he had pushed to this point, that he had made me feel like I was second place in my own damn marriage. I should have been more aware of how badly I'd been hurting him too. I should have seen the cracks before they turned into a chasm. But I didn't. And now, here I was, my family falling apart, and I was the one to blame. I had made the jokes, pushed him away, and now I was paying for it. Eric packed up his things, and as he left, I could hear Mia crying in the other room. It was like everything I had been avoiding hit me all at once. I wasn't just losing my husband, I was losing my family. The next few months were a blur. There were court papers, talks with lawyers, and trying to figure out how to tell Mia and Ethan that their dad wasn't coming home. It was messy, to say the least. But I never stopped blaming Eric. I told myself I was just a victim in all of this, that I had done everything I could, and he was the one who screwed it up. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had a part in this. I had pushed him away. I had been so wrapped up in my own frustrations, my own insecurities, that I didn't see what was slipping through my fingers until it was too late. And now here I am, alone with 2 kids to take care of and a life I never expected. I don't know if I'll ever regret the way things went down, but I know one thing for sure. Things could have been different. And if I could go back, I would have done things differently. But I can't. All I can do now is try to pick up the pieces and move forward. In the end, the divorce was finalized. Eric got what he wanted. He walked away with a clean slate, no strings attached, and a fresh start. He was free to live his life however he chose. And me? Well, I was left trying to pick up the pieces of a shattered life, a family that was broken, and a reality I never expected to face. I remember the final court hearing, sitting across from Eric, his lawyer beside him and mine next to me. The kids weren't there. Thank God. They didn't need to see their parents fighting over who gets the house or who gets what in the settlement. That was the last thing Mia needed. Eric didn't even look at me during the proceedings. He was calm, collected, like this was all just business to him. And maybe it was. Maybe it was easier for him to move on because he had already checked out a long time ago. But for me, it was different. I wasn't ready to let go of the family we had built, even if I had contributed to destroying it. I had stayed in that marriage for years, for the kids, for stability, and now it's like all of that had been for nothing. I didn't realize how much I had taken for granted until I was left with nothing. I had always been the stay-at-home wife, the one who kept everything together, but now I was forced to confront the reality of my own choices. I hadn't been paying attention to the cracks forming in our marriage. I had been too focused on myself, too caught up in my own frustrations and insecurities that I let everything slip away, and in doing so, I lost the man I thought I could count on. And more importantly, I lost my family. The worst part, I had no one else to blame but myself. Eric moved on quickly, as men often do. He found someone new, someone who didn't know the man I used to love, someone who got the version of him that was free from all the baggage I had held him down with. And as much as I hated to admit it, a small part of me resented her for that. But more than that, I hated myself. I hated how I had let everything fall apart, how I had let the anger and frustration build up until it was too late to fix anything. As for me, I was left to rebuild my life alone. There were moments of weakness, of course, when I thought about what could have been, when I wondered if there was any chance of reconciliation. But deep down, I knew there wasn't. The damage had been done. Eric had moved on, and I was left with nothing but the lessons I had learned the hard way. I never wanted to be the kind of woman who blamed everyone else for her problems, but I had been. I had been so focused on pointing fingers, on playing the victim, that I never stopped to look at my own role in the mess we were in. And now, as I sat in the quiet of my house, the only sounds being the occasional hum of the refrigerator and the distant chatter of my kids, I understood the weight of that. Life was never going to be the same. And while I might never get back what I had lost, I knew one thing for sure. I would never take my family, my husband, or my choices for granted again. So here I am, learning to navigate life as a single mom, trying to be better, do better for my kids. But it's hard, and some days I feel like I'll never get it right. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the mistakes I've made are the only way I'll learn. And maybe, just maybe, I'll come out stronger for it in the end. But for now, I'm just trying to survive, to make sure my kids don't feel the weight of all my mistakes, to somehow figure out how to live with myself after everything that happened. And that's where I am now, still figuring it all out, still learning. And I hope for anyone out there who finds themselves in a situation like mine that they can learn from my mistakes before it's too late. If this confession kept you hooked, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We share powerful true stories every day that explore the complex realities of life.